Welcome Stian Westerhus to 55th International Jazz Week Burghausen. We are here at Hotel Post in the center of Burghausen, and this special guest from Norway is gonna perform tonight. So I think you're in a duo setting, and maybe you can tell us about it.
Sure. Thank you first and foremost for inviting me to this. We're playing me and Maja Ratkje from Norway. We're playing our set, which is called All Losses Are Restored, where we play acoustic guitar and acoustic organ, harmonium, 130-year-old instrument, where we've written a lot of music for Shakespeare lyrics based on different Shakespeare texts, and obviously lots of improvisation and all that, but it's all based around these compositions, which were released last year or maybe the year before. I keep forgetting. And we've just been touring with this for now a year and a half, sort of.
You're one modern guitar player, and you love to work with electronics too. And now you confront us with Shakespeare-Sonette.
Yeah.
If you go back in that time era, in a way, how would you approach this project, sonic-wise?
Well, I think that that's sort of the key element for us, is the resistance, both in, first and foremost, in the text, but also challenging ourselves to play acoustic. Neither me or Maja are acoustic players as such, and it's been a real challenge to sort of transfer our musicality and our way of writing into the acoustic domain. But it really fits the context of the lyrics, and it sort of ties it together. So there's like this element of I keep thinking about this music as it could be 150 years ago. Some Norwegians traveled across the Atlantic Sea and ended up in a saloon somewhere with a Shakespeare book in the back of their pocket, getting drunk in a saloon somewhere in Texas. You know, it's something like, or Minnesota rather. So there's this element of that with contemporary improvisation, and obviously, you know, where we come from. So it's a free concept for us, but the borders of the project itself, the acoustic instruments, the lyrics, that sets the limits, and those limits are very, very strong, and of great challenge, which we both really like. And obviously, you know, we're just two people, so it's kind of naked project, fragile and feels dangerous every time we go on stage. And I really like that. Really like the human aspect of it. And it brings this human element also into Shakespeare.
You said something about acoustic music. So how much did you reduce the electronics?
There's none.
There's none.
There's no electronics. Even the organ has no electricity, so she has to pedal like a bike to get air into the organ. And so it's completely old school. But obviously, you know, to get 100, 200, 300 people in the room to hear it, we have to have some kind of amplification. So that's the modern aspect. But we don't deal with that. We just show up and we play acoustically, and we have some microphones, obviously. But that's we deal with it acoustically.
So sonnets means that somebody's singing, and I know that you are also kind of doing vocals, and you're also singing. In what way do you interpret these sonnets?
The sonnets are one part of it. Another part is sort of rewriting parts of like Macbeth or Romeo and Juliet, which I've also used in my solo pieces, sort of recontextualizing that. But in terms of singing and all that, I mean, we're both really fascinated by American, English, European, I don't know, songwriting. And so there's a lot of this sort of Americana songwriting. That's why I referred to coming to the US in 1890, sitting in a saloon with some contemporary classical improvisation in the background. I mean, it's that kind of, that's the kind of vibe. And so we're not really trying to do anything else than to write some tunes, like write some songs, but the way we perform them is fairly open. And I mean, obviously we have, 50 years of improvisation between us. So there's like, we can do whatever we want, and it's a duo, so it doesn't really matter. We're both, it's like riding a motorcycle, it's really fast. But just the whole project and the way that it's a fragile project, so you really have to dive in. And I think that, the human element of the singing and trying to get those texts across, that's what's in it for me, at least. I think that those texts are very hard to understand sometimes. But I think that as long as you manage to get some sort of human element into it, it's relatable. Even if you don't understand the whole text, there might be some words here and there.
You mentioned the aspect of humanity, but how relevant are those lyrics, those texts today?
Yeah, I think, the obvious answer any other year would be, yeah, they're really relevant. But I think it's even more obvious today, but maybe not as we think of it, as I think the human elements are far weaker today than they have been even 5 years ago, with the onset of AI and our consciousness always drifting towards some kind of impression of a screen. But I still think, there are some things that we can sort of keep, I wouldn't say sacred, but it's almost like this instinctual, resonating force, one being the voice. And I think the voice and words, as long as you manage to open your ears a little bit, there's something there, almost like this instinct of, I have to try and understand what you're saying or singing about. It's a nice context. And also the Shakespeare's texts and its problems, and the plays and its problems and its context, the human elements, they are valuable today as they were before. But there's so many layers. I mean, you can sit down with somebody who really knows Shakespeare and they'll tell you all about it, or you can just listen to it and get something out of it yourself. And I think that's a really important part of it. Like, it doesn't have to be intellectualized to be loved. And I think that's the strong side of Shakespeare. That's how human it is. Like, everybody will get something out of it.
So now you have told us that this is completely acoustic, but you are coming from that Norwegian tradition, jazz, avant-garde / prog tradition, where also you have worked with Niels Petter there, and you have also worked with vocalist Seidel Endresen. And how much of that did you leave behind to do this project, or how much did that kind of lead to what you do today?
Like with all relationships, you bring them along, right? It sort of forces you in some way or another. So it's a time for everything, I think.
Maybe if you can just look at this project with Maja and just say in core words what it is.
It sort of says, yeah, all losses are restored, but it doesn't really happen because that's death. But I think as far as the project goes, I think we've had so many different feedbacks on this project. People get all kinds of stuff out of it. And it's just songs with Shakespeare lyrics. And we really try to play them as beautifully as we possibly can. That's the only objective I have.
Thank you very much, Stian Westerhus. We're looking forward to hearing you tonight.
Hey, thank you very much.